Hi everyone, I hope you're all really well. Thank you for joining me for today's Altcoin Bible. As always, if you want to look at the bigger session where I look at a few more charts today, make sure to become a newsletter subscriber. Tomorrow I'm going to be dropping my analysis on MicroStrategy, the different derivative options that you can get through MicroStrategy like MSTY, Strike, and some others, and also the new offering of 21, whether they're good investments. So if you're interested in that, make sure to drop me a line and get into the newsletter tomorrow. Let's crack into some of the charts here. I'm going to give you a couple more today, guys, because I think a few of them look really good, and there's some that I just want to show you for fun's sake, and just we're all learning, so why not? So CETUS here, really interesting. Now I've got some squiggles on here, essentially just to illustrate what I think is likely to happen. Now, SUI and CETUS and others are all up around about 100% plus. So some of the SUI ecosystems, think Deep, think CETUS. SUI itself is up about 55%. So CETUS and Deep tend to be like beta plays. They move up harder than the base asset, but remember, they can also drop much harder than the base asset. And that's what I'm looking at here. CETUS has had a 150% move. There is a conference, I believe, at the beginning of May around SUI. I think buy the rumor, sell the news is very, very real in this space. Once the news drops, the conference hits, I think a lot of these assets are going to roll over, or at least have a correction. I could be wrong about that, and that's fine. And that's why we have an upside and a downside strategy. So really easy overhead level to monitor whether CETUS and also Deep and SUI are going to continue higher, and that's just above the 200-day moving average here and this horizontal. Now you can see why this is so important. It's hit it again. That big move though, I'm concerned about this because again, it's running into the 200-day moving average. Big overextension. It's gotten far away from its moving averages. They need to catch up, and I think a measured move back down to say the 10, let's say 17.4, maybe a little bit lower at 15, 15 cents even into this area is very, very reasonable. But that said, it can continue up, but it needs to prove it needs to flip that overhead into support, and then it can go higher. Also, very, very overbought on the RSI. Doesn't mean it's the over by any means. In fact, it's a great sign when the RSI is in a strong position in the power zone, but we can see a pullback to say the 70 region or even the 50 region, and that would be in line with still bullish momentum and trending to the upside, but a shorter term correction. That's what we want to see. So CETUS in a little bit of bother here, I think underneath this 200, just needs to flip it essentially. But apart from that, to me, to my eyes, it looks like it's building a kind of a big cup and handle if it does this correction before it has its final move. All right, Stacks and Pepe, I'm going to show you both because I think they are both really, really interesting value propositions in terms of short-term, medium-term trade, even a longer-term trade at this point. They're getting squeezed, and these are one-to-watch charts. Now, Stacks, downtrend break. You can see the first one was a fake out, the second one was real. It's come up to the 100-day moving average, and what is it doing? It's doing this beautiful formation where it's compressing like this descending wedge into the 100, and it's getting squeezed against the 10 EMA. I love that setup. I think it's going to get blasted up to here at some point, 1.3. Look, ultimately, I've got an alert you can see on my chart to get above this old peak over here. If it gets that 0.87, 0.9, that type of region, I think it's a smart play. You can, depends on how aggressive you want to be. You can position trying to be early for a bigger squeeze, but you're putting sort of the risk on that you might fall over, down to these kind of areas, which is very possible as well. So it's just one to watch. I think the RSI actually looks quite nice for continuation as well. So that is a one to watch. Buying anywhere through here into these moving averages is smart in my view, and then looking for profit taking areas at the 200 and this horizontal 1.3, 1.2, that kind of area. So Pepe, very, very similar setup. Just some nice clean moves to a lot of these charts after being just smashed against Bitcoin and USD for a long time. Some of these charts are really responding. And for example, here you can see how important this horizontal is. Pepe is squeezing like Stacks above the 100-day moving average and the 10 underneath it. It's a really great spot to give it a launch, and these things can move fast. So I think there's some opportunities here, guys, and it's curling up really, really nice. Pepe could really go, like I've seen, Drift and Popcat and Dog and a few others, and liquidity does tend to follow these similar narratives. So I'm watching this very intently. I'm probably going to wait until above 900 before I get keen again, but everything's looking pretty good here, so definitely one to watch. Now, XRP, there's a bit of squiggles on these charts, but just technically for mine, and because it's a bigger market cap, I think it's a safer option. It is my cherry ripe this week, but again, easily I could have put Stacks and Pepe because I think they're gearing up. But what I like about XRP here is that it's had the downtrend break. It's back into this much larger range, deviation below this key horizontal support, back above, broke the downtrend, and it's creating this series of higher highs and higher lows all through there. Now, there's a thought here that we could get maybe move back here to create a sort of a macro higher low through here. But as long as it is holding above these moving averages, and importantly, this horizontal support through here, XRP can hold here. I think it's coming up here pretty quick. Then it's got the 100-day moving average through here that it has to contend with. There's a few spots where it could get stuck, but just broadly, technically, it looks pretty good. I think XRP is going good things up to about $3 from here. Obviously, it's not going to be a straight line, but this is how you can kind of look and position and see downtrend breaks and get pretty excited about chart setups. That's if you want to be more conservative, you wait for a few more daily closes at this level here, maybe have some orders stacked below to capture some value, but ultimately you can get aggressive and then look to move through the charts like that. All right, guys, hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll catch you again soon. Stay tuned for my newsletter tomorrow. All right, guys, see ya. Bye.